Right. Welcome to Spoiler Kings. My name is St. Kramer, Brandman Brandon, Brian the Grizzly, and we are going to talk about the Oppenheimer part of the Barbenheimer weekend. So, Brian, you got a quick rundown of what Oppenheimer is?
Definitely. Let's go. During World War II, Lieutenant General Leslie Groves Jr. appoints physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer to work on the top secret Manhattan Project. Oppenheimer and a team of scientists spend years developing and designing an atomic bomb. Their work comes to fruition July 16, 1945, as they witness the world's first nuclear explosion, forever changing the course of history.
Mm-hmm. So, real world event. So I think we all know how this ends. We learned that in elementary school, high school.
Mm-hmm.
So, cool. So we'll get into some of the bad stuff, give it our ratings at the end. But before we do that, we're gonna start off with some of the good stuff. What you like about this one, Brandon?
The acting was probably my favorite thing about this. I don't think there was one bad performance in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked the way that I liked how the narrative wise how the story was told. How with the time jumps, kind of like forward and backward through the decades. I thought that was a pretty good idea. Kind of expected that because kind of telling stories from time to time in a non-linear fashion is very much Nolan's style,
Mm-hmm.
or one of his trademarks. I thought that pacing wise, tone wise, I thought that it was like it really grabbed me like from the beginning. And if Robert Downey Jr. doesn't at least get like an Oscar nod for Best Supporting Actor, I'm going to be upset.
Uh-huh.
Him and Cillian Murphy, like I said, obviously everyone was great. It was nice to see Josh Hartnett in this too. That dude's making a little bit of like a career resurgence,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm here for that. I liked him in the movie too. But yeah, as far as the pacing, the acting, and just from a technical standpoint, the cinematography, which Nolan always brings it with, that there was a lot of great stuff to be had with this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What you got, Brian? Some good stuff.
Cillian Murphy. That should be it. He literally, you should say his name and then wait some seconds, some spaces, understand how good of a job he did. He didn't just he carried this movie on his back, and with great actors and actresses. I mean, Florence Pugh, Robert Downey Jr., Emily Blunt. We're talking about. I mean, just Jack Quaid was in it. Rami Malek was in it. I mean, all these people were in this movie. Like I could go on and on and on and on and on. And he was the star of stars, and he gave you so much emotion in his eyes without saying a word. You can see both the terror and the craziness that was going through and the decision making he was going through. Like you saw so much just in his eyes. It was crazy. And you know what? Honestly, it also told me that they were not good guys. These are not good people. None of them. Not a single person in this damn movie is a good person. Closest one was Matt Damon, and he wasn't that. He wasn't a good guy either. None of them. And I think that was pretty evident too. And technically, they were so well done. And I love the idea that the hydrogen bomb and talking about how much more explosive it was. And for a movie to have not one action scene hold your attention that well, this has to be perfect. I mean, literally, Nolan shot the perfect movie. He shot it perfectly. It reminded me so much of Interstellar, the way the movie went through. But just Nolan, you did a wonderful job to carry a movie that we knew it was going to happen. No action, not one punch thrown, and kept us enthralled for 3 hours. So, congratulations, that was great.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I agree with both of you guys with everything you guys said. I gotta go back to Robert Downey Jr. though. Like you already talked about Cillian Murphy, which is he was phenomenal. Robert Downey Jr. was amazing in this role. He was amazing. it really kind of came out of nowhere. You're like, okay, he's kind of a side character. And then at the end, when everything's like going down, you're like, I thought this movie was over. And then you're like, you're still pulled into it and like wanting more. You're like, holy crap, like
I didn't want
what's
more.
going on? Well, no, because
I know exactly what you mean.
the main thing happens, the thing happens. And then I'm like, is this the end of the movie? And then there's still like going on. And then that's like the climax of the movie wasn't the bomb being dropped. The climax is the fallout of everything after that. So it was like, and with Robert Downey Jr. as like the main part of that part of the movie, so oh man, and then because it ties in everything like Brandon said, like with going back in time into different parts, like him telling the story, but then they're in the room, the interview room, and then the court, Congress, whatever it was all going on. So it was like, but it was done so perfectly where you're able to like flow between different timelines and know exactly what's going on at all times. And it was just like, because that could have been easily confusing. Yeah, that could have been easily confusing. And he did it perfectly. Yeah, because it was like 4 or 5 different timelines that they kept jumping in and out of.
There were a few.
Yeah. So, but Rick, we got Preston in here. What's up, Preston?
What's up? Preston?
But yeah, I mean, all the actors, man. You had a lot of the old Nolan people in there.
Like the Nolan alums.
Yeah, Gary Oldman, of course. Gary Oldman in there somewhere. Yeah. Casey Affleck, he was in there somewhere. Matt Damon somewhere.
Wait, Casey Affleck was a badass.
Very short. He was really awesome. He had a really good scene.
Brief screen time.
Russian.
Posh.
Don't fuck with him.
Yeah.
Boris Posh. Don't fuck with him.
Yeah. Even Gary Oldman as Truman was. Even that whole scene, that characters that had a little team. Yeah. Even little teeny scenes that were in there were great. Were just done so great. Florence Pugh was interesting. She didn't get a lot of time, but she was a good character. But all around, man, Emily Blunt.
I enjoyed that part. I enjoyed Florence Pugh.
Oh man, yeah. But yeah. I think it's about it for the good stuff. I mean, we can probably go on so much about the good stuff. But what about some of the bad stuff, Brandon? What didn't you like?
I think as the movie kind of got closer to the finish line, like the last 30, 35, 40 minutes, it kind of started to drag. I knew it was going to be a long Nolan movie anyway, but at that point, as we got closer to the end, I kind of started to feel like it was kind of overstaying its welcome.
Mm-hmm.
And, we just didn't, it could have been like, it could have been a little shorter in that regard, or Nolan could have done more with that last 35, 40 minutes. But yeah, it just really started to drag. I'd say that was really it. Other than that, it was, like I said, probably my second favorite Nolan movie of all time.
Mm-hmm.
But that was really it. Just the runtime just kind of started to drag near the end for me.
Okay. What you got, Brian?
I have to agree with you. I think it was just too long of a movie. It was too long. A lot of stuff was going on. I enjoyed the backstory in the second half, but there are parts in the middle that I just was like, all right, I don't give a fuck right now. You're telling me the same story over and over again. Let's kind of get this going. Let's go. And he was trying to tell you how long it was, how long they were there, but come on. After a while, I was done. I was like, okay, you need to start moving on. Even no matter how beautiful or how important you think this is, you got to kind of figure out a way to kind of merge both parts of that. I think it was just too long. But I enjoyed all the parts of the story that they were telling, though. Still, the Senate aide, I loved him. I love the aide. Like he was probably the best one of everybody. And the other bad parts, once again, I say every one of these people were bad. They had terrible intentions. They had terrible. I mean, pushing the envelope just for the sake of pushing the envelope, knowing what people are going to do with it, is just the wrong thing to do. It's the wrong message, and I just hated seeing people doing these things just because they wanted to have either their power or the prestige, or yes, I want to be known as the best, and they're doing it not realizing what they're going to cause to the world. And it's like, oh, the world has to pay for it. Slim to none. Might happen. Whatever. And that's how little people matter to them. And that's the best person. The best person, Oppenheimer. It didn't matter to them. People don't matter to them. They didn't even think about anyone else. So that's so. And in revisionist history, like, oh, I wish we didn't do this. Well, too bad you did it. So my bad is really just the actual story. They are terrible people.
Yeah. So it was a little too long, but my problem wasn't the end of the movie. It was the beginning and the middle. Was like Brian said, it just dragged because once the Trinity test, once they started doing the Trinity test, I'm like, oh, it's getting really good. And then for me, that's where it kind of built up, but it took a while to get it even there. But yeah, like exactly what Preston. Yeah, I agree with him. He fell asleep the first 20 minutes, which I don't blame you, man. That first 20 minutes was kind of really slow. It was super slow. Yeah, the guy in my theater after the explosion, but it was good. It was a good movie. So yeah, so my problem is at the end of the movie. The problem is the beginning of the movie. You could have condensed that first 45 minutes down to 20 at least. It was. Yeah, I mean, I didn't need to know the story of you poisoning your professor with the apple thing. I think if you know Oppenheimer, that's kind of a big story everyone knows already. It's not, and it didn't do anything to the story. You didn't even remember the apple at the end. You're like, you could have skipped all that and just had him go right into the military, testing and Manhattan Project and stuff. So yeah, but and then kind of going off what Brian said was you said the carelessness and kind of the revisionist history where you're like oh, maybe we should not have done it. But it's like, hey, but you did. And instead of dealing with after the bomb was dropped, dealing with the aftermath of that, they dealt with oh, he's a communist. It was like, what? Does that really matter? There's faces being melted on the other side of the world, and you care about
nothing to do with the communist thing. It had everything to
do with
the hydrogen bomb that he didn't want to. Didn't want to push.
Yeah, which is that. But that's what I liked was that was it was a man taking advantage of the situation so he can get power, which is again bad people doing bad stuff, claiming that they're good guys. That's why I like the ending was so great for me, because after the bomb, I was just so intrigued. I'm like, what is going on? This is crazy. It's like there, you guys literally destroyed generations, and then all you care about is a cabinet seat and are you a communist? It was like, you it's insane, and just how careless they were about it. Even the way Truman was I don't know how true that was, if he was so careless about it afterward like that. I don't know. I mean, it could have been done just for movie purposes, but he was Truman. They made very, very
very nonchalant about it.
Yeah, just yeah, it happened. Whatever, move on. I was like, what? So yeah, those are some of the bad parts, but not horrible bad. Except for the length of this movie. They could have definitely cut that beginning part a lot shorter.
I think they could, even the middle, no, even the end part, I have to say, no, even the end part, some of the stuff was taking too long. And as much as I know what was happening, it was taking too long to happen in the end. And I don't know if it was the end because
you were already tired
at 2 hours and 40 minutes, and I'm like, I don't give a fuck anymore, or was it that because I wanted to know what was going on in the story. I just wanted to hurry up and tell me. And I kept looking at my watch. I was like, all right, we still have an hour.
Yeah.
How am I going to get another hour out of all this stuff? And I think it didn't have to be an hour. It could have been 45 minutes. But cutting 15 minutes from a story is not going to fix this movie. If it wasn't going to be
a half an hour,
if it wasn't going to be 30 minutes, then you might as well tell the whole thing.
Yeah. Which they could have cut at 30 minutes. They probably could have cut Yeah, 30 minutes. I think you can probably cut if you could
often
push it.
they were sitting in that town for an hour and 15 minutes. They could have cut 30 minutes out of that. We would have been fine. They keep the stuff at the beginning. They keep the stuff at the end. Let them be in the town. Not like, look, we were there for 3 more months. Or we were there for 6 more months, and then skip some of that. Like
yeah. You do what Marvel did. 5 years later. Like so, and you get it. You're like, okay, we're 5 years old because they were there 3 years,
3 or 4 years, yeah,
something like that. So yeah, you could have easily done that, but that's why I was like, I feel like the ending was not hated. The ending was rushed, but I liked how it was rushed on purpose because it was just a lot of information all happening at once. And then once Strauss realizes what's going on, it's just like, you're like, wow. But like you said, like the last 45 minutes of the movie was great, but it was just, you were so, your butt was numb from sitting in the seat for already, 2 hours, we're like, so that was an issue I had with it. Usually the ending, you're like that don't need to be there, but really it was the beginning and a lot of the middle didn't have to be there.
Well, I think the beginning does. I disagree with you with the whole beginning. The Apple thing actually matters because they understand his frame of mind and understanding how important it was for him to not practice physics, but to actually be just the thought process behind the theory. So understanding that was very important to him in the story and with anything with Albert Einstein. So I thought that was important, but it didn't have to go as long. You could have done it quicker. Like, I wanted all the things you give me, just didn't have to take forever to get there. It's like he took a walk around the park every time he wanted to tell a story. Well, how about let's get to the straight line? Let me know exactly what's going on. Give me the straight line there. Give me the straight line and at the city. Okay, we know 5 years. All right, done. Straight line. Let's go. Let's start getting this stuff.
Yeah. And then the kids are older. People are older. People are fed up with it. Yeah, you would have figured out. They were there for a while.
Yeah.
So a few things. We're getting some comments before we get into ratings. They show 2 versions of Jean's death. One is a suicide, and one with Black Love killing her. Really?
So that was the CIA. So I caught that, and it wasn't that Jane. He was like, Jane wouldn't have killed herself, and then he said maybe she killed herself because I wasn't there. But the truth is like the CIA killed her because she was interrupting with what he was trying to get done. He was leaving the city to go talk to her and be with her.
Yeah,
and that CIA came in. You know what the CIA does?
Yeah. See, because they show the version. I just figured like it was somebody telling their version of it, and they did that a lot, where like he would see things and then kind of be pulled back to reality. So there was a lot of that going on too. But the reference to the conspiracy theory that she was killed.
You got to think about it's just a prelude to the '60s, man, when they killed everybody.
And they made a joke about that. In it, where one of the guys is like quit, and he's like, "Oh, don't worry, we'll kill him." And it was like, "What?" It was like, that's not too far off.
Yeah.
So she signed all her letters except for that one. So
exactly. CIA. That's what they do.
Yeah. Oh, the guy next to you fell asleep and slept until the end. Whoa.
I mean, there's some good parts. That sounds.
yeah. And then exactly what it's like. I love that the sound you kept hearing during the first half that was ominous ended up being the audience celebrating with all those deaths. Yes. Where it was like, it's a train. I'm like, what is this sound that he hears, and it keeps getting louder and louder, where it's kind of deafening and you can't hear other people talk, and then you get pulled back into reality. Yeah, that was kind of cool. The one scene with Oppenheimer and Emily Blunt's character in the hotel, to me, was kind of uncalled for. To remember, I don't know.
I mean, I think I understand. And it's just trying to show you again that Oppenheimer is not a great guy.
Yeah.
There was no hero here. It's not
that's the thing. Yeah. And then he said Oppenheimer being a leftist was definitely important. A lot of his problems came from that. Yeah. And it was even more than a leftist. He was being accused of being a communist. So it's like,
but communist back then, it's like calling a socialist. It's socialism.
Yeah, it's very different back then, especially with Russia. And that's what he was trying to say. He goes, who gives a shit about Russia? Like, Germany is happening right now. Like, we need to worry about that. But everyone's like, what about Russia? He's like, F Russia. It's like they're killing Jewish people in Germany. So I get what he was trying to do, but also like, the bigger heads cared about other things, and you care about one thing, and
no, they just used it as an excuse, like they use for anything else. It was just an excuse.
Yep.
But Emily Blunt at the end during the little not trial, when she was badass.
She pretty much saved his life.
Yep. And
Yeah,
he repaid her by cheating on her.
Friggin' dog.
yeah, he wasn't that a good guy. Oh. Yeah. All right, let's get into our ratings. So we do things nice and easy over here at Spoiler Kings. Now, later, never. Now means you need to go check it out right now before anything gets spoiled, or you got to see it on the big screen. Later means you can wait till it's at home, and never means just skip it. It's not worth your money. Brandon, what you giving Oppenheimer?
Oh, this is very much a now. Like I said, apart from like it dragging near the end, everything else I thought worked brilliantly. Like I said, Cillian Murphy was amazing. Robert Downey Jr. was great. I think he needs like a Best Supporting Actor nod at least. The cast all around, just the way that the story unfolded, I thought was great as well. So yeah, this would definitely be a now for me.
Yeah. Okay, Brian, what you got?
I mean, you said it's just so stacked. The cast was amazing. Matt Damon was amazing. Robert Downey Jr. was amazing. Emily Blunt was amazing. All these great actors, and Cillian Murphy was able to once again lead another great movie. And Nolan did his Nolan thing. And as we talk about, he's only made 12 movies, and of the 12, 9 of them are probably in my top 30. So I'm just saying, the dude is amazing. He knows how to do it. It's a no-brainer now.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, it might be a now, but the difference is this is a now, but I don't think I'm going to see it again. I don't know. The rewatch value is not something that's going to happen. And some of it's the length, and some is just the story. Some of it's just the subject matter.
Yeah. Oh, I'm looking at the cast. There's a Skarsgård in here too. Of course there is.
Oh,
they're in everything.
Yeah.
Gustav Skarsgård. So, but yeah, I'm giving this a now. It was. I remember us talking about it and how we were like, oh, this might be one I really don't want to see because it's going to be depressing and stuff like that. I mean, we were right with being depressing and not walking out happy, but it looked so gorgeous on the big screen when they finally did the bomb test, the Trinity test explosion, and the way that was shot, the way everything was shot, the way the story was told was great. The acting was great. And it was just everything added up with how great this movie was at the end, and it wasn't a happy story. It wasn't a happy ending by any means, but it was a very, very important, I think, story, to tell and to see. And I wish they would have focused more on the bad a little bit more so you can fully understand what happened. But I get it's also a movie about Oppenheimer, so you have to deal with all that extra stuff that happened after the bomb was dropped. But it was an intense movie for sure, and it was great. And go see it on IMAX. That's probably the only reason I would say watch it now is you have to see it on IMAX. It was made to see it on IMAX, especially if you're by a theater that does that 70 millimeter IMAX, which is there's only a handful or something like that in the country. Surprisingly, there's not one in Chicago. You got to see it that way. I would have loved to see this on the way it was supposed to be meant to be seen. But yeah, it was great. I don't know if I would want to see this again. Maybe at home if my girlfriend wants to see it, which she doesn't. But if she ever were to, I'm like, all right, we can watch it again at home. But yeah, I don't think
I'll start it. I'll probably walk away. I'll just come back for the Florence Pugh. Like, okay, that'll be it.
Like, tell me when it's minute 39 and 45. You can sync up your timers.
It's like, all right, and let's go.
Yeah. So a few last things. I mean, for Florence Pugh. We said the one scene where Oppenheimer and Emily. And
Yeah,
Florence Pugh's character walked through the hotel.
Yeah.
Yes, that makes sense because I was like, wait, what part was that?
Yeah, I mean, I was fine with hers half, but the Cillian Murphy part, I was like, yeah, I could do without this.
Yeah. So this was kind of crazy. The one guy saying not to bomb Kyoto because he had a vacation that had a vacation.
It was his I honeymoon here, so it can't be Kyoto.
It's just a thing on a paper for them. That's all it was, and it's just inhumane, and sad. In certain countries, they censored Jean's nude scenes, giving her a CGI black dress. Yes, India, I know, was one, and I think China, where they she's sitting on a chair, fully. Both of them actually are fully naked. But yeah, they CGI like a small black dress on her. So it was like they did the black censor bar, but shaped it, so it looked not so bad. But yeah, and then so we're gonna finish things off here with Rotten Tomatoes. Again, the audience and the tomato meter are exactly the same. Two movies again. Both are at 94. 340 critics and 2,500 verified audience rating. 94%. It was exactly 3 hours. I was like, damn, I didn't know it was exactly 3 hours. But yeah, I agree with that. 94 is really damn good. Yeah. Is Oppenheimer number one or no? Because I know, but because for me, no. So I'm saying no.
Is it number one for Nolan? No. Is it number one this week? No. Is it my favorite of the two movies? You have to wait to see.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But 3 hours and 9 seconds. Get that right. That last little credit scene. But cool. Unless you guys got anything else, end it.
I like they clone Tyrone more.
The clone Tyrone was great.
Yeah.
I'd say that's about it on my end.
Yeah.
Okay. So cool. So if you're watching on replay, appreciate you clicking the video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and you can join us live, like all the people in our chat were with us. So hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and if you find any videos you'd like and you want other people to see, please hit that share button. We appreciate it. But thank you for everyone in chat and live. If you're watching live, we're gonna finish things up. So make sure you guys stick around.